My simple iPhone 6, nothing very complicated about that phone. I mounted it onto a drive so that it would follow the stars from my garden. My garden is not particularly dark, so I was expecting to get some stars, but not a great deal. And using a lovely bit of software called Nightcap, which is good to say the least. It allows the iPhone to take extended exposures, which is also good. Now, we've recently had some pollution levels drop, so as a result the sky is incredibly transparent, which is good, and also some very, very clear evenings, which also helps. So I thought I'd just go outside and take some pictures and see what happens. And the picture you can see on the screen is what I took. You can see in the bottom right hand corner the Pleiades M45. Aldebaran is right at the very bottom of the screen. The big sort of circlet of stars in the middle, well, this is Auriga the Charioteer. And this star here actually belongs to Taurus, but it of course is always included into that particular circlet of stars. This is Castor, and this is Pollux, this is Castor, this is Pollux, and there we are. That's essentially it. The one thing you do notice, of course, from this exposure is that we have this lighter area here and this dimmer area here. Now, if you're going to be able to process these images in Photoshop, if you have Photoshop, I know there are some other bits of software, but I'm only going to take you through a Photoshop version of this, just so you can see exactly what it entails. The first thing is to have a little look at this wonderful image here, which is the same image as I've just shown you, but I'm just clicking onto a slightly different screen. And you notice it's completely out of focus. There's nothing in there of note. All the stars have gone. So what I do generally to an image like this, to make sure we do get that lovely clear bit, this background image, which we're going to use in a minute, we're actually going to use it, is to go through and just use this lovely little tool over here, which is the lovely little sort of healing tool. As you can see, it's doing its little thing now. Leave it on that. Just leave it on that. It's not a spot healer, as it were. So you're just going to clear off the biggest star. You don't have to clear off all the stars. And then when you've done all of that, you're going to set a filter. And you need to blur this image, so you're going to end up with that lovely blurred image. Use it, and I would suggest we use something like 10, maybe 15, something like that. So slide this along until you get to around about 10, but there's, and see, nearly all the stars have gone. Go a little further, and eventually you get to a point where all the stars have gone. But of course, if you've been taking out the bright stars, you probably do need about 10. Okay, so there we are, that's it. And you're going to end up with something that looks like this, which is great. Now, if you go to your original image, which is nice and easy, and we're going to revert back to our original image. Here we go, ready, and bang, there's all the stars again. We are going to use this blurred image here and take it away from that. It's quite an amazing thing. So if you go up to image and you go to apply image, you're going to go to Auriga, which is the image you're on, but we don't want that image. We want to actually go through and take the blurred image. We're going to subtract it, and we're going to leave a scale of about 20. That's usually the type of default that you would have, is a scale of about 20. It's suggesting we can't do that, which is interesting. Oh, maybe the offset's 20. Maybe the offset's 20, and I'd leave the scale as 1. Oh, let's try that, see what happens. Okay, good. And what you notice straight away is that the bottom right-hand corner is no longer horribly blurry. I'll go back on that. You can see that. See, it's all gradated and everything. We don't want that. What we want is to do that again. We're going to go into image. We're going to go to apply image. We're going to grab hold of that Auriga blur. We're going to go to a scale of 1, offset of 20, and hey presto, look at that, it's done it. It's fantastic. So that's the start. That's the start. So I'm going to jump forward a little bit. Okay, this is sort of shorten this exercise here. We're going to have a look at the image here. There it is again. You can see it. It's not particularly bright or anything, but what we can do is we can make the stars a little brighter. So we're going to go in and we're going to slide it across. Now remember, this is an iPhone 6, so as you bring it across, what you might notice is suddenly you get all the background, and the background becomes very noisy, as you can see, very, very noisy. So a lot of that is not stars. That's the point. A lot of that is not stars. So you've got to be a little bit careful with your slider. If I go back to the original image, do the same, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. You slide it across, and all it does is to increase the background noise, but notice there's no graduation on there. Look at the noise. Look at the noise in the background. So there is a limit to how faint a magnitude star you're actually going to pick up. You're not going to pick up absolutely gazillions of galaxies. And this is from an urban environment. This is a town, Tunbridge in Kent. This is not the darkest site. This is from my back garden. Neighbours have got their lights on and things. It's quite dark, and I can certainly see a lot of stars. That that polluted sky has disappeared, I can assure you. So I just made this version up here, which takes us through layers. And each layer sort of boosts the brightness of the background stars, leaving the bright stars not to sort of helate. They're not getting unnecessarily big. So you can now see the lovely circlet of Auriga there, which is great. Now we can do a little trick. This is a lovely little trick. I'm going to get this image here, and I just want to show you something. Go to Command U on a Mac. I think it's Control U on a PC, and you stretch the image. Can you notice all the colours of the stars are coming up? Can you see? They're coming up. You can actually clearly see there's a blue star, there's a red star or an orange star. You can see them quite clearly. Now these colours are only comparative. They're not absolute, because the colour control, or the way colour is perceived by an iPhone, is not accurate. But there is a contextual reference. In other words, one star will be bluer than another star. One star will be whiter than another star. You have got at least that contextual comparison, so that's good. But to use it as an absolute would perhaps not be a good idea. So we're going to shut that back down again. So we've just got the normal colours. What we're going to do is just isolate this layer here, and we're going to use it as a mask. Okay, so what we're going to do is you're going to go Control A. That selects it, or on a Mac it's going to be Command A. You copy that layer here, okay, and then you go down into here, and what you're going to do is make a mask. Then you hold down the Option key and you can paste in, okay, so you've pasted your image as a mask. So now this image is actually on the mask bit of this layer. Go back and open that up, and all you can see is the stars on a transparent background, which is great. Okay, so what we're going to do, apply that. We're actually going to apply it. There we are. We've applied the mask, and there's no difference. If I put a black layer in there, you'll probably see that most of the stars are still there. There they are. Most of the stars are, but not all of the faint ones are there. And we're only using this, and I'm going to get rid of this layer again. Okay, so it's gone. Get rid of it completely. Has it gone? I don't know. I don't know where it's gone. Yes, it has gone. There we are. Because there we are. That's better. So, but what we are going to do is going to blur this, and there's a reason. So we're going to blur it quite a bit, actually. We're going to blur it in Gaussian, okay, or Gaussian, as some people call it. And I'm going to do 10. I'm going to do 10. And suddenly, notice in the little window here, you can see the stars are really blurry. You can barely see them at all, which is great. And then we're going to make a copy. And you can see them getting darker. And we're going to make another copy layer. Just dragging it onto the copies. There we go. Let's make sure they're the only ones that are there. There we are. And we are going to blend them together. So merge visible. There we are. Merge those layers. And now if you drop that onto that one there, suddenly you've got a lot more stars, but you've got a lot more noise as well. So I'm not going to do that one for a minute. Let's go back and make that lovely black layer. Just a straightforward, down here you can see on my bottom left in my palette it's black. So there we are, we've made a black layer. Now watch what happens. This bit is the magic bit, okay? We are going to increase the colour of these stars. Keep going, keep going. See, look at that. They come up brilliantly. They don't look very bright, but they have come up in colour. So Command or Control L, and we're going to brighten those stars up a bit, just a little bit like that. That's great. Okay, great. We're going to make another copy of that as well. There we go. How about that? And we will merge these two layers together again. So we're merging the two layers, and suddenly, hey presto, you've got a whole load of colourful stars. But where are all the other stars? Where have they all gone? Well, they're still there. They haven't gone anywhere. Look, I've gone back to the original photograph, which is down here. Here it is. There it is on that layer there. And if I switch the stars off, look, the stars are still there, okay? So that's, you're going to play with that. You can play with this ad infinitum. You can do it all you like. If I go back to my original one that I played with last night, after having taken the photograph, what I've done is made a little balance between things, playing with things. See, look, that's all the blurry stars, and I'm using this one on pin light to knock out that sort of glary bit of the stars. So we're just getting the colours, and then I'm using these masks. Look at that switch, look at that star there. I'm going to switch this one off. Switch this one off, switch it back on again, switch it off. Look at Aldebaran down at the bottom. Look at the Aldebaran. You can see it's sort of flashing like a beacon. So what we're doing is controlling the stars, and it's just bouncing backwards and forwards between layers. That's what you do in Photoshop. So you can take an ordinary photograph of the night sky with an ordinary phone. Mine's an iPhone 6. It's not one of the super duper iPhone 11 Pro things. And it's taken a picture of the night sky. And I'm quite pleased, because if you look down here in the little foot of Gemini, there's M35. There it is there. It's not a very brilliant image, but it's there. It has actually recorded it. And if I look deeply into Auriga, I'm probably going to find M38, M37, and all those other lovely little sort of star clusters. Absolutely fabulous. So I hope you go outside, and I want you to enjoy yourselves.